Hello and welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. We have a great show for you today and very interesting with some authors that have done great books in our area. And I'm joined today with Karen Wormack, and I have known now for a couple of years.
Yes.
And some of her work with children's books are just wonderful. And we're going to talk a little bit about the adventures of Prissy and Missy, which is what you're known for, what I've seen you out in the community promoting, working with children. You are such a joy. You have so much energy, and your energy and the books match. I will tell you that because the books themselves, The Adventures of Prissy and Missy, are so colorful. They're cheery, they're fun, and there's some great messages in them as well. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Representative Brown.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. We only have a little bit of time. The time goes so fast. But tell me a little bit about how you started writing the books and what was your inspiration?
Well, I've always enjoyed children, writing, learning. I wrote my first poem in the second grade when I attended elementary school in Washington, D.C. And Prissy and Missy have been with me since childhood. They are multicultural cat twin sisters, and the timing is just so perfect for the adventures of Prissy and Missy. I initially wrote 10 manuscripts, and the first 2 have been published. The Adventures of Prissy and Missy I'd like to share with you. The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Sleepwalk Affair,
Yes.
Thank you, which is my first book. And now we have The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Travel Abroad, which is the second. And I'm just simply delighted to share with you our sample comb-bound copy of The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Beyond Earth Sky to Mars. Yes, this book is going to be this thick, hardcover, 276 pages, perfect for the STEM program. So my inspiration has really come through various life experiences, as well as keeping abreast of current events and wanting to really affect the lives of children through learning and literacy.
Very nice. Well, perfect sense with everything, and to make them fun at the same time. And the STEM, when we say STEM in the acronym, we need science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yes.
And that is really the focus with a lot of the curriculum in many of the states, and something very important that we believe for our children to be able to be competitive in the workforce globally.
Absolutely.
So this is really wonderful to see this and to see the amount of volume that's in this and how it relates to the planets, it looks like. And so I haven't read this yet, so this will be really interesting to look at. So talk a little bit about the Prissy and Missy books in more detail. Maybe the first story that you have, which was the
Sleepwalk Affair,
which I know my kids have read and love, and it's so very cute. So this was the first one. This is the first series.
Yes, and in The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Sleepwalk Affair, Missy is having trouble sleeping at night because she found a black lab puppy that chewed up her sister's new shoes, and she's afraid to tell her. And in this story, Missy is keeping her sister awake 3 nights in a row. They ultimately decide to visit a doctor, Dr. Halitosis, who earned his degree from the University of Osmosis. He doesn't practice hocus pocus, but had to put Missy under hypnosis to find out what was bothering her. And this book has become loved by so many people. As a matter of fact, it's going into its 4th hardcover copyright.
Wow,
and then after Sleepwalk Affair, we published, that is House of the Gilded Scribe LLC, we published The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Travel Abroad. And in this story, Prissy and Missy visit 5 European countries. They travel abroad with passports, money, and credit cards, taking a cruise on a giant yacht.
Little financial literacy in
Yes,
there.
absolutely,
Very
absolutely. Yes, they take a cruise on a giant yacht and eat exotic food, some cold, some hot. So in this story, Prissy and Missy visit France, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Great Britain. A few key points about the Adventures of Prissy and Missy exciting series is that all of my Prissy and Missy adventures are written in sophisticated conversational verse, poetic verse, having rich language, stunning art, and all of Prissy and Missy's adventures have a glossary in the back of the book. And we will begin including workbooks to accompany the Adventures of Prissy and Missy. House of the Gilded Scribe believes in literacy, and we believe in children learning and growing. Living in this technological age, we see lots of children always on their tablets or their iPhones, their various digital devices, and it's so important that children learn to read.
Right. And reading through the hardcover books, I really think they're still, I was just with a college student the other day, and they said, they still feel that they need and they retain better reading on a hard copy than they do on the computer. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know how many studies have been done with that, but here's from, I know several students that felt that way, and I too myself feel that way when I read something in, in my hands versus on the computer. I feel much better about that. So, and I don't think that is a technology and modern thing. I think that might just be sometimes the way that we work. So, so this is interesting in that conversation of keeping that hardbound book.
Yes, and I completely concur. Although The Adventures of Prissy and Missy are available at Amazon.com for not only the Kindle but for an e-reader device, people still enjoy being able to turn the pages of the book, handling the book. They like it. It's a personal possession, and people often feel that being able to read a book, holding it, is the tangibility of it just lends to the experience of the theme and the story. So we at House of the Gilded Scribe, LLC, independent book publishers, absolutely want to continue our quest in having our books printed in various media. Hardcover, absolutely. Our first Prissy and Missy adventure was printed in soft cover, and people really enjoy hardcover children's books, and that is what we will be doing from henceforth, all hardcover. The reason this one is kind of soft, The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Beyond Earth, Sky to Mars, is because it's our sample comb-bound copy, but this one certainly will be hardcover as well.
And I think the workbooks that you're putting in combinations with these really go the extra step, probably for comprehension.
Absolutely, thank you.
And for really understanding what you've read and enjoying the pictures, but understanding what you've read and the meaning, the true meaning of how to analyze the book a little bit. So talk a little bit about that, because that's something that you don't always see. Yes,
our workbooks, our accompanying The Adventures of Prissy and Missy workbooks are going to be excellent to help children establish not only spelling, we're going to have crossword puzzles. We're going to, children will be able to identify various pictures. It's really going to encourage the child to think, because it's so easy for children, of course, students have teachers and guidance with parents and caregivers, but I think the primary purpose of children going to school is to help the mind to grow and to think. And so the workbooks, The Adventures of Prissy and Missy accompanying workbooks, are going to do just that. Comprehension, absolutely. They have to be able to understand the material, even pronunciation, being able to express themselves with a more thorough, richer vocabulary is going to be important. So I think that that's going to be great for not only in-school study, but at-home study. And all of Prissy and Missy's adventures are educational, but they're also fun and exciting, engaging the minds of girls and boys all over the world.
It's wonderful. We have Read Across America, which is constantly a focus where we read to, different elementary schools and different daycares as legislators to make sure that we continue to promote literacy and reading and taking the time and the importance of reading to all the thinking that you do with every subject and everything that you do in life. And I like the fact that the travel abroad has, some geography in there,
yes.
some financial literacy in there, which I think is really, wonderful as a big component of what I think is important too for kids. But you also have had some great news, and I know we talk about this with Pennsylvania and working different books into our education system and into our curriculum. But I have this nice little card that you have, which is announced, which is a tremendous accomplishment. The New York City Department of Education approves the travel abroad with Prissy and Missy. So talk about that a little bit.
Representative Brown, that is really a highlight in House of the Gilded Scribe's legacy, because prior to our approval in the New York City Department of Education, people everywhere still gravitated to The Adventures of Prissy and Missy. Thank you so much for mentioning that you've seen me out and about in our community. Very important. Very important. Yes. ShopRite, they believe in The Adventures of Prissy and Missy and community learning and literacy. As a matter of fact, while I have ShopRite on my tongue, I'd like to just say thank you to the Sumas family, the Kinsley family, the Calalillo family. They believe in community learning and literacy events. I'd like to say thank you to McDonald's, Mrs. Z, Claire, Mr. Terry. They believe in in the community learning and literacy events. I'd like to say thank you to DeSakis, because I'm also a regular guest at DeSakis on Saturdays for our community learning and literacy event. So very important, and I also commend you and thank you, Representative Brown. I noticed you during one of, I was searching the web and I came across you reading The Adventures of Prissy and Missy, and perhaps it was for Reading Across America.
Was.
Yes, and you were reading to a classroom and you utilizing one of their stories. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And so yes, it's very important, and for New York City to now give us formal approval. People have already enjoyed Prissy and Missy. They've purchased their books, but to get formal credibility and approval, which has begun our Prissy and Missy New York City marketing campaign to help them become very popular there. Any librarian, educator, or administrator in the New York City 5 boroughs, they now have The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Travel Abroad at their fingertips. This book has been approved by the Internal Review Committee. And one may say, well, what about the first book? Well, we are sold out of The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Sleepwalk Affair, and it is going into its 4th hardcover publication. Once we've received our inventory for this book, we certainly will submit it for review, and we really believe that it's going to be accepted too. And then also The Adventures of Prissy and Missy Beyond Earth's Guide to Mars, where Prissy and Missy are chaperoned to the 4th planet by Captain Meraki and Robot Dasaki, who was programmed to do all sorts of things but loved eating sushi and practicing karate. This book for the STEM program, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, is just going to be super fantastic. I know we here in the Poconos are already on the map, but The Adventures of Prissy and Missy are just going to secure that all the more.
It's great. No, and I kind of laugh because, you know, the Dasaki, and like you mentioned, I have seen you out and about and really consistently working, you know, hours, and notices that you'll be there and that you have the books. You have a really strong passion towards the literacy and to the books and to this effort. So you really do a wonderful job. So I think you're very well known in our area, and I think the books are tremendous. So we only have a little bit more than a minute left, but talk a little bit about where if people watching once again, where they can get the books, how they, you know, if a grandparent's watching, if a parent's watching, how they can get the books.
Prissy and Missy are available. They are available at the website www.prissyandmissy.com. They are also available at booksource.com. They are available at amazon.com and barnesandnoble.com.
Great. Well, Karen, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for creating such wonderful books with such vibrancy for our children and to really promote literacy and education. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Representative Brown.
Karen.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with the legislative report. If you have children but no health insurance, you may qualify for free or reduced coverage under a special state program. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. The Children's Health Insurance Program provides benefits to uninsured Pennsylvania children whose families don't qualify for medical assistance but can't afford health insurance. If you believe your family is eligible, you should apply as soon as possible. For information on income eligibility requirements and how to apply, please contact my office. Does the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have your money? I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. The State Treasury Department's Bureau of Unclaimed Property is looking for the owners of more than $2 billion in cash and unclaimed property, currently in the custody of the state. To find out if you or a member of your family is entitled to any unclaimed property, visit www.patreasury.gov. If you can prove ownership, the property will be returned to you free of charge. Welcome back to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown, and we're actually discussing today local authors. And so I'm very happy to have Patrick Clark here with me today and to discuss your book. And this is really, and I say Patrick, so I don't know if you short by Pat, Pat. But this book was very, very interesting. But I want people to know a little bit about you as a constituent as well, and your background, because on the back of the book, it talks a little bit about your biography.
Yes.
And a little bit about you. So tell us about you first, and then we'll go into the book a little bit.
Okay, well, I am originally from Guyana, South America. It's the only English-speaking country in South America, and I came here about 28 years ago, and moved up to the Poconos about 18 years ago. So I've been here since, and I wrote several feature films. I've been involved in film production and writing over the years, and I had these films that I couldn't get sold into movies, so I decided that I'll start writing them into novels.
Right.
It has been a challenge because writing a movie script is different
Right.
to
Right.
writing a novel.
Right.
And I had the assistance of my grandsons who helped me because they read a lot of novels, a lot of action novels, and my son and his wife and all that sort of thing. And we managed to get this book out, and I have done it through Amazon, Create Space. They have been very helpful. It helps the independent author quite a lot because they would I would do the work, they will put it through, publish it, charge me for publishing after it's sold. They charge me for that, so I don't have to get out of pocket money.
Right.
And I would recommend it to any independent author.
Very interesting, right? The whole system and how it's changed so
Yes.
much, and how you're able to
Yes.
go through a different process
Yes,
to get a book on the market.
getting the book published is one thing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing in book publishing is marketing. And it is a challenge, although I've been involved in marketing. I did marketing for a greater part of my life, but book marketing is specifically different because there's not a target audience per se. Like, you aim between 15 and 45 or something like that. But you find that different people
Read all different types of
all
things,
different
right?
types of things.
Right. If they're a reader, you know that they
yeah.
would buy a novel.
And I have to now depend on the professional marketers in that area, in the genre and all that, to be able to put that book out. And I recently, as a matter of fact, this month, I had an arrangement with Amazon to extend the book now into ebooks and it's gone into the UK and
Wow.
on a broader scale. And it's now they told me it's now in the bookstores, like Barnes and Nobles,
Good. Good.
So we're moving.
Good. Well, it definitely is a process, and I think there's several local authors here in the area, and the amount of talent that we have
Yes.
with people writing books is, I think, a little hidden gem.
Yeah.
You don't always have everybody stop in like you did, and were talking to me and saying, Rosemary, I wrote this book, and it's just so interesting to hear about the talent that we have.
Yes.
And earlier in the show, we have a children's author.
Yes, I met her.
And so there's just a lot out there with people from our community with their arts and their creative talents. So this book that I have in my hand is called The Silent Shadow.
Yeah.
And how many years ago did you write this?
It was a film written years ago.
Years ago.
But as I said, I couldn't.
changed it over.
Yeah, I decided to write a novel. One of the things I tackled in this book was mutism.
Yeah, which was interesting.
A young girl, 22, she's out to avenge the murder of her parents. And she went into the jungle of the Amazon to seek without knowing.
After living in Manhattan.
After living in Manhattan.
So when I read the book, I thought it was so interesting because just like you said, as a young child witnessing this, what appeared to be
She was traumatized.
a double murder.
Yeah.
And but it was traumatized, but then how people protected her and how then she started to and worked in a circus for a little
Yes.
bit, right, with some adoptive parents. It was a very interesting pieces that you would say how a life. And then it goes out to avenge, like you said.
One of the things I must say, I visited those areas when I was in Guyana because the Amazon is very on the border, Ghana, and I did meet those kinds of people.
Really?
I wrote
Really?
the book.
Really?
You know?
So that became the characters that you put into the book,
yeah.
right? The people that she ran into and the people that...
And the stories that people tell and all that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It becomes a part of their culture.
Yeah. Well, I would say, as I was thinking about you and us, we're having this interview today, the how you would describe the book, there was some secrets that were very kept to protect her as a surviving child
Yes.
of this. So that was an interesting piece. But I think if people watching, and when you say marketing on who would enjoy this book, I think it's many people that would enjoy this book because there's a little bit of everything in it, from the murder plot twist to her being, a mute, and then also, the adoptive process and the whole kind of when she's trying to find out, who this person is that had done this and why, and the twist at the ending a little bit with, of the lifestyle of her mother.
Yes.
Was so it's really, I mean, who would you say would really, if you could pick a prime market to this book, people watching, who would you say would really?
Well, I was surprised today because I went to my barber and I had given him a copy of the book.
Yeah.
And I went in there to find what he thought of the book. He says, "Man, I didn't want to put it down." Now he is in his 70s, 80s, or something like that.
Right.
He said, "I can't stop." He says, "As a matter of fact, I was reading it, and people came in for a haircut, and I felt mad at leaving the book."
Right. I want to finish this. I don't want to be bothered. Let me finish it. Well, and I thought it was very easy reading.
Yeah.
The wording and the spacing on my copy here, and the wording and the chapter lengths are, they're succinct and they're short. So it's easy reading. I think on the font size or something about it. Maybe you know better than that.
Well, I did. You got to understand, my background is in printing, so
Yeah.
I qualified from the British Federation of Mass Printers
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So I understand how to make it easy reading.
Yeah, sometimes you have a book where, it's just glasses or no glasses or whatever, but the wording is, the font's so small. It's just, but it was very easy reading, I felt.
Yes.
So I think that's like a little side note to just
Most
notice.
people tell me that.
Do they? Yeah, I was trying to figure that out as I was going through something about this and the wording, that the way you've done this was enjoyable. It was not a struggle to read with glasses or without glasses.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So is there more to come for the barber and for everybody else who reads this one?
But I'm right there. I wrote another one. So I'm now getting it reviewed and all that before publishing it.
Right.
And then I'll write the last one. It's 3 films I wrote. Then I'll take up a continuation of The Silent Shadow.
Right. So I was going to say, so the other ones are not related.
Not
They're
related.
not. They're all individual
books,
films that would be transferred over to books and stories. And then this one may have a continuation.
All of them will have a continuation.
Yeah, so you have a lot of work ahead of you.
So
is there something that started, besides, some of your background and where you lived and some of the characters, like you said, that you sort of mimicked a little bit in the book of some of the kind of people that you've met. Is there something that clicked in the brain to kind of evolve this story?
Well, somebody asked me, that was my my doctor. He asked me if how you wrote something about a mute girl. I mean, how has anybody in your family? I said, no. It's just one of those subjects that you never think about, what a mute person goes through on a daily basis. They always feel bombarded, insulted, and all that, and nobody knows that.
Right. So to bring your attention to something that you don't always take the time to stop and think about. So you added that piece in there.
I added that, yeah.
For that. Well, it was an interesting piece because as a young child.
Yeah, and she was traumatized. Hence her feeling of revenge, because nobody carries it on so long unless it really affected them deeply.
Yeah.
Hate is not something that you continue on such a long, lengthy basis, you know.
Yeah, a little bit, right, for that many years, right?
Yeah.
Because it was what, from 7 years old,
From 8 years, yeah.
8 years old, right, to I
To
forget how old you were,
22,
22.
yeah.
So what is your goal with your book sales with this? I mean, do you
Yeah,
have a
I would like to improve my book sales because, as I said, it has to get out there.
Yeah.
And I have to do independent promotion as much as I could.
Right. So you've done, but you're still in the beginning process.
I'm still in the beginning
of promoting
process.
the book and
Yes.
and talking to people about it and getting the
Yes.
word out. And I think
Yes.
as more people read the book,
Yeah.
the barber may hand it off to one of his
So you're my
clients.
first person that
Right.
has interviewed me.
I am the first. So see, I get that,
Yeah.
that great honor to be the first. See, that'll go down in history. Well, I think it's important to recognize the talents that we have of people and people that are and the book market and this industry is an economic driver too.
Yes, it is.
And promotes literacy,
Yes.
which I think is very important. And also, I personally believe that reading and getting into a story can be a stress reliever for people
It can be.
and take people into a spot where they need some downtime and
Yes.
they